Welcome to Abundant Opportunity, as our panel has been entitled. We're going to be talking about AI and its relevance as we think about some of the challenges in terms of the wealth gaps in our nation, as well as opportunity gaps, particularly for low and moderate income communities. Looking forward to a robust discussion with this distinguished panel, who needs no introduction. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to start off talking about opportunities. And John, I'd like to start with you. Help us think about what AI, what the promise of AI might be in terms of opportunities for addressing some of the challenges for borrowers who are struggling with building wealth, with economic advancement, for underserved communities, and anything else that you think might be relevant as we think about the opportunities that AI might present for these underserved communities.
Thank you. Honored to be here. Patrice, Mike, Lisa, honored to be with you. Honored that you're here. Some really important. I mean, look, I could make this easy and say Operation Hope was one of the first community-based coaching organizations to embed financial literacy into our work. That was a year and a half ago. Sam Altman gave us a grant through OpenAI. I could check the box with that, and I could talk about how, you go to when you came in from the airport, you also you went to a fast food restaurant. Used to be 12 people behind the counter, now it's 3, and now it's a pad that you're punching in your order in. That is this sort of sneaking up on you, and you go to the grocery store, and it used to be 12 tellers, and now it's 2 tellers and a self-checkout line. So this is all. I mean, I could do this, give you a really easy answer and be done with it, but this is really, the world's changing, fundamentally, forever. And this is like, Patrice, this is like 1850 to 1910, where you went from the horse and buggy to the automobile. But only this is not going to be 60 years, it'll be 6 years. Be less than 6 years. Before 2030, life as you know it is going to be fundamentally different. And when I had my first meeting with Sam Altman, he showed me ChatGPT before it was made public in San Francisco. I was terrified. It was the most terrifying meeting. It's hard to terrify me. It was the most terrifying, shocking meeting I've ever had that I can remember. But I was also incredibly optimistic. I think you're going to cure cancer in 10 years. I mean, the stuff that we're going to be is just transformational. The risks are there. Half of people I care about. I mean, I care about all of God's children. Black people in particular, half of those jobs are just going away. They're just gone. Customer service jobs, I mean, anything that can be automated. But I'm hopeful because there's going to be a whole new generation of jobs coming as well. And this is the rainbow after the storm. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. Van Jones said to me, he said, 99% of black folks don't know a thing about AI. But 99% of rich white folks don't know a thing about AI either.
How about that?
We're all starting for the first time at a level playing field. It's never happened. Every other technology was delivered to us, announced to us, pre-baked. This one is, Sam will tell you, Altman, he will tell you, he just doesn't know about the unintended consequences. Like, there's going to be some. He just will acknowledge it. We have, as one example of opportunity, Patrice, we have in Atlanta, in about 2 weeks, we're going to announce formally the AI Ethics Council that I co-chair with Sam. We've incubated the first ever pipeline for AI talent. We'll announce it in 2 weeks in Atlanta. It's called the AI Literacy Pipeline to Prosperity Project. I've given an account to every kid in kindergarten in Atlanta Public Schools called a kids account. 8,000 kids have our savings accounts. We're going to plug into that financial literacy, plus role modeling. But now we're plugging into it AI literacy. So we've gotten the mayor, Andre Dickens, to bless this. We've gotten the Atlanta public school system. We've got Georgia State University is going to anchor it. So it's K through college. We've got Morehouse, Clark Atlanta. I'm pretty sure I got Spelman. Mascar's going to throw some money at it for a project manager. We've done this in the last 3 weeks, by the way. Georgia Tech. we're going to have a complete ecosystem that is K through college, where you're letting kids unleash themselves, because the kids are not intimidated by technology. So we're connecting education with aspiration. And now these kids are going to be able to create AI apps, AI IP, AI technology. I think the future of jobs are going to be found in these classrooms. I think tech companies will then say, I want an intern, I want some apprenticeships. We're going to be able to place young people in the college scholarships because the college is going to want this talent. And I think the tech company is going to pluck talent from that incubator into the future. So when you're being run out of town, get in front of the crowd and make it like a parade. And versus sitting and complaining about it, because it's coming, it's here, and it's going to be everywhere. You just have to find a way to embrace it and make it your friend. And I think that you're going to see a whole new generation of jobs that we can't even imagine right now that's going to percolate, I think, a lot of them from these kids. So that's just but one example. I guess I'll give you two examples. One, we're embedding it in our financial, we have 1,500 offices in 42 states. So Operation Hope. So we've embedded that into our work. And then I'm just stunned how smart this stuff is. I mean, it's just, it's in some ways smarter than the people and faster, like that. But there's some things that AI can't do, thank God. And then it will never be able to do. And the AI needs inputs, so I've got the HBCUs going to get paid to provide the inputs for generative AI on the back end, because without us, it cannot be holistic. And then, of course, we talked about this pipeline project, which you're the first to hear about. I hope you like it.
That's fantastic, John. Fantastic. I hear the applause. And how exciting to harness AI in that way, right? In terms of within that context of education, but also getting those folks while they're young. You know, I'm reminded, my grandmother always said, change is inevitable, right? It's the only constant. And you're saying, let's harness that inevitability, but also understand that that change is coming apace, right? It's not only inevitable, but quickening. Also reminded when my now adult son came home at the age of 5 and said, Mom, there's going to be a new way for me to do my homework. They came to our school and they talked about this new thing called Google. And he went around all day on the playground and everybody talking about Google this and Google that. And I thought, well, weren't we going to buy Encyclopedia Britannica for you? So in any event, you remind me of that when you think about planting those seeds with young folks.
So before you continue that, because your son's example is a great example. So I think we're having like the wrong arguments. I think arguing actually is the wrong argument, but because the future is here, whether you like it or not. Yeah. The future doesn't care about your opinion. But we're having this argument, like somebody said to me, well, you know, kids don't use calculators anymore. Well, what happened before the calculators? Like, remember that? The debate was you used to have to use actual addition and actual subtraction. Audience, can you relate to this? And there was a debate. You're cheating. You got a calculator, right? So then, now they got the calculator. Yes. So now they're saying, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't need the calculator. You got AI. What if the universe is telling you, as your frequency gets higher, there are higher and better uses for your talents? And maybe you shouldn't be doing these tactical things when you could be doing brilliant and amazing things. So we shouldn't be fighting this. We should be embracing this and finding higher and better uses for our talents.
Embrace it indeed.
Like talking to Lisa. Talking to me.
Lisa, Mike, anything you wanted to add around the opportunities in terms of AI, harnessing it?
I'll just say very briefly, when I started out in my career in civil rights and fair housing, I won't tell you how many decades ago, but our number one job, Patrice, as you well know, it was stopping the advent of technology, AI, in housing and financial services, because we believed that those technologies, credit scoring systems, automated underwriting systems, et cetera, were perpetuating bias and discrimination, but it was now just hidden. And the thing that I heard over and over and over again was these systems, these algorithmic systems, cannot discriminate because they don't see race. Technology cannot discriminate because it can't detect gender. And so this is a very objective way of assessing risk or pricing risk. And the thing that we have learned over the decades is that actually these algorithmic systems and AI can detect race and gender quicker than the human eye can. And you've heard me say this before, AI is the new civil and human rights frontier. It holds great promise. I'll just lift up one use case for us. We're using AI. We build AI systems in order to help us in our enforcement work. So it used to be, back in the day, we'd get millions of pages of paper in discovery and production of documents, and I would have to hire a whole team of paralegals to go through those documents and look for the pieces that were pertinent to our litigation. Well, today we have AI systems that we have built, web crawlers and different things like that, that can do the work of that team of legal experts or of paralegals, and do the work very quick and highlight those documents that we need to put a human eye on. So we believe that AI holds great promise, and we're using AI as a tool in the civil rights industry to advance justice and fairness.
Excellent, excellent.
So I'll add just one thing. I mean, for financial products, what we're talking about here, as many of you here are fully aware, a lot of our financial products are still what I call Ozzie and Harriet products. They assume we still are in that world of secure lifetime jobs, no income volatility or other disruptions in our lives. And also, the underwriting for those products is often back to the pre-calculator days still, and even some of the automated parts of it are still pretty antiquated. And as we'll hear in a subsequent panel, things like cash flow underwriting, and even FinReg Labs has looked at even how you can use AI in debt collection to make it fairer and better for both lenders and borrowers. So those are some clear areas of promise.
That's exciting. Mike, I'm going to ask you to help us pivot a little bit to talk about the other side of the coin, right? The risks and the challenges. And so, what do we need to be wary of? What do we need to be clear-eyed about, right, as we think about this new world that's upon us, right? Not just emerging, but here, now, today.
So I think Lisa really touched on this, and exactly, is with AI, we must take into account the economy and environment in which it operates and the current trajectory of those broader conditions. And obviously one of them, we spent a lot of time talking about this before this session, is the vast wealth divide in this country and its close connection with race. And people are generally aware of that, but most do not appreciate the depth of that divide. So let me just give a couple quick examples. A lot of people have heard that top line number, that the black-white wealth gap is 1 to 5, or the Latino and white wealth gap is 1 to 5 Latino, 1 to 8 for black households. The way they calculate, though, that includes all your assets, your tangible assets, the furniture in your house, your car. Now, let's get down to financial assets that you can really advance with. When you plug those in, the Latino ratio goes to 1 to 20. Black goes to 1 to 40. And so just play that out for households, starting where the younger households looking to buy a house, the median white wealth is $25,000. The median black wealth is $600. And just a couple other numbers for that, and this is one that's still, it's hard to deal with. Black households with college degrees, as we sit here today, have substantially less wealth and lower home ownership rates than white households that did not complete high school.
Wow.
I mean, the divide is extraordinary, and the trajectory, the baseline scenario is that those trends will get worse or best stay the same. The gaps are not closing. So hopefully AI helps do that. And then one other thing about credit scores that Lisa pointed out, and I think this is in some ways my greatest fear connected to the first, A negative is the possibility that AI can be credit scores on steroids. Using more data and algorithms, as Lisa said, it can laser-like focus and identify households that face economic vulnerabilities and screen them with credit exclusion or higher prices. At its worst, it can be a tracker of the descendants of former enslaved persons, identifying those households who still carry the heavy impact of past and continuing discrimination and continue to penalize them for them. And so those are the risks, and that is the environment. FinReg Lab and the people here today are how do we use AI so that's not the result.
It's such an important focus on the data, right? And the data ultimately being used in ways that proxy for and double down and exacerbate, calcify these pre-existing inequities. Lisa.
Yeah, the only thing, Mike, you've teed it up perfectly. And the only thing that I'll add is, I still oftentimes hear from people, even people in the technology space, that AI does not perpetuate bias. And I'll lift up 2 examples. And these are the things, these are the risks. These are the things that kind of worry us from a civil rights perspective. If AI systems, if algorithmic systems, you think about legacy underwriting systems, legacy credit scoring systems, legacy pricing systems, if they don't perpetuate bias, then why is it that my team can go into those systems and make them fairer for people of color and more accurate? Now, the only way I can make a system, a system fairer is if it wasn't fair from the first beginning, right? Because if there is no bias, then there's no way that my team can reduce the racial disparities that are generated by that system. And so the promise I think that AI can hold for us is making that exercise easier and faster, to John's point earlier. The way that we used to make these systems fairer was a very long process. And Patrice, you've done much of this work throughout your career, and you know how tedious it is. AI can quicken that process and quicken that exercise, which is why it is so beneficial. And then the second thing that I'll lift up is when ChatGPT first came out, we have a number of industry partners that we work with, and I won't list the names, but 2 of our industry partners in the housing and lending space built plugins for ChatGPT and started utilizing them very quickly because they wanted to be first to market. And here's a lesson. Those systems immediately started generating biased outcomes, discriminatory outcomes. Like discriminatory outcomes, including teaching people how to racially steer. They had to immediately remove the plugins and then fair lending test them, augment the plugins, and then they're back in use today. But that gives you an example of how AI can perpetuate bias if you're not controlling for these risks.
It's so interesting, Lisa, because really you're calling us to think about a whole new definition of effectiveness, right? It's not just about performing the function for which the model or whatever AI application has been designed, but also thinking about fairness and really ultimately where it's taking us.
Yeah, because a lot of times when we look at these models and systems, we look for the level of accuracy at the aggregate level. We don't think about breaking it down, sort of compartmentalizing it and seeing how accurate the model is for African Americans, for female heads of households, for Asian consumers, right? And so that is the work that we do in the fair lending space, right? We disaggregate those functions and we look at them to see how accurate they are for these different groups. We did a hackathon last year that focused on appraisal valuation systems, AVMs. And what we found was that AVMs, automated valuation models, were highly accurate. They were very, very accurate in predominantly white, upper income and middle income communities. They were very inaccurate. I mean, one of the models had a 15% degree of accuracy in predominantly Black neighborhoods. That's not a good model, right? And so it's important to parse that and look at it in terms of how it is affecting different market segments.
Makes sense, makes sense. The importance of good model governance. John, jump in here in terms of thinking about the risks and challenges as we lean in, right, rather than lean back and run from the inevitability of AI.
I know you guys are not used to me not talking, those who know me, but I was just listening to Lisa and Mike and you, and it's such important work, particularly what Lisa's doing. My hesitancy, my concern is two things. I just confirmed it while we're sitting here because I want to make sure I was accurate. Since 2020, there's been $68 billion of investment in artificial intelligence. 4 years. By 2025, December, the estimation it'll be 200 billion.
1 year from now.
1 year. Wow. So while we're sitting here reflecting on the universe and hoping for good outcomes, and trying to get this right.
The time to act is
the world
yesterday.
has moved. No, the time to act was in 2016.
Okay.
This cart has left the station, and it is moving. And most of that 68 billion I mentioned, it's going to be wasted. This is like it's between 1900 and 1910. There was 101 automobile manufacturers. We now know the iconic ones, but those are the ones who survived. Most of them failed. But what they knew is that they couldn't just sit there and wait for perfect. Don't let the perfect be the death of the good. And so most of those companies failed. Ford, a few others, Ford was able to pay, he paid his workers enough to buy the automobiles they were making, accidentally created the middle class, and thus thrived. Win-win. We're going to have the same thing now. Most of this 200 billion is going to be wasted. But what CEOs are not doing, what Wall Street's not doing, is sitting around and trying to figure out what's a fair, reasonable, right, a refined answer. They are going. Capitalism is a gladiator sport, and it has no emotions whatsoever.
So then how do we harness fairness there? How do we get fairness to piggyback then on that on that rocket ship, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to make it worse before I answer your question. Black people and brown people, we have built an infrastructure of red rooms, keeping discrimination down, keeping bad racism down, police brutality. We can spot a problem a million miles away and tell you about it. We have experts in what I call civil rights. And thank God, without civil rights, where would we be? And my mentor is Ambassador Andrew Young. His right arm was Dr. King. I'm all for it. What we have not built is a series of green rooms, which is about internships, apprenticeships, jobs, access to capital, opportunity. We need green rooms to outnumber the red rooms.
Green as in money.
As an opportunity.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I'll go a step further. This country's not about red or blue, or black or white.
Ultimately green.
It's green. It's always been green. And so I'm going to go to bed at night praying for you, both of you, because we need more of you. Where would we be without this? We also have to become bilingual. We can do two things at the same time. We got to put our foot on the brakes and put our foot and call out. That's why the AI Ethics Council that Sam and I co-chair, it was initially about the brakes. And we'll have a report out, and it'll say what bad things we should avoid and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't think that was good enough. And it kept gnawing at me. Like, am I supposed to just issue a report? Like, a lot of people can do that. That's when this pipeline thing hit me 3 weeks ago. That part, right? Put your foot on the gas, and don't let the perfect become the death of the good. This world cannot survive without the least of these God's children. I'm not making a moral statement. Demographics are destiny. So you have the first time in history, you're going to have more people who are over 65 than children in our lifetime. Those are white, wealthy baby boomers trying to retire all at the same time. You have $150 trillion of GDP and wealth in this country, $50 trillion created in the last 25 years, since the year 2000. This generation is going to dispense $100 trillion of that in the next 10 years through inheritance. So stocks and bonds and cash and all that stuff's going to go to their children, their wives, their husbands, whatever. But when they try to get the businesses to the kids will be like, no, I'm good. That's available to black and brown people, women, whoever, to go buy those businesses. And a lot of them are technology-based, and to run something that already has cash flow tied to it. That's a green room. That's an example of a green room. You're going to have 40% of this country is black and brown right now. Within 10 years, we're going to be a majority of minorities, right? So we are the new consumer in an economy that's 70% driven by consumers. Black people are 0.057% of the global population, 0.057%. But we've defined culture in the world. If we say something's cool, it's cool in Beijing within 24 hours. If we say it's dorky in North Korea within a day. Imagine if AI and cool, AI and culture, AI and black, let me just give you one example. If black people come together, who can stop that? We've got to stop just being terrified by something and think that we're excited about it and jump on this horse and ride it like we've got no tomorrow. If you don't have a high school education that has an AI degree or a technology degree and a financial literacy degree, and you don't have any hustle, you are done in America. I don't care what color you are. We have got to jump to the end. Quick, like yesterday. So I'm not terrified, I just can't sleep.
Because there's no time to sleep.
And the opportunity is there for us. Once again, everybody's mystified by AI.
Yeah.
No one has an advantage.
Yeah.
I was on the beach with Ambassador Young, and Ambassador Young said, at 91 years of age, I want to read a book about AI. He's on the board of the AI Ethics Council. So I called Sam Altman. Hey, Sam, he's the Steve Jobs of this generation. Yo, Steve, I need a book. What's the book? He said, I don't know. It's still being written.
Yes, it is.
He was willing to acknowledge and admit, even he doesn't have all the answers.
That's right.
So, I mean, I over-answered your question, but again, I'm inspired. You guys make my heart warm. But we've got to now become bilingual. We got to have the green room work with the red room. It's not either or, it's both. Why can't we be good capitalists? Can I get an amen?
Amen. and amen for sure. Isn't that so much of success is recognizing opportunity when it's in front of us?
Yep.
Rather than realizing in hindsight we had that opportunity
Yep.
and just didn't know it, didn't recognize it.
Can you monetize, Lisa, the thing you described about you found these disparities?
Absolutely.
I think you can monetize that.
Yeah, we do.
And sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in the process of doing that. So investors,
Going once,
Come
going
at
twice. And I think, Mike, what you do, it is a unique talent. You have a ground game. You've got the infrastructure. You've got the history. You can't, somebody who's 25 years old in Silicon Valley doesn't have Sam Altman says, what do you think about these technology leaders? I said, most of them are technical geniuses with a blind spot called people. So you've got an understanding of all the stuff they don't. Plus the technical skills. You can monetize that. You can package it up, you can sell it for a lot of money and do good in the world.
Well, you know, it's funny. You said something earlier, John, about maybe recognizing that perhaps the universe is aligning to have AI take over certain jobs in order to free us up to do something that may be, in fact, more impactful and at a higher level. And you're throwing out ideas for Mike and for Lisa just right here on this stage, but imagine all of the other folks in terms of rethinking your skill set and what you could potentially monetize, what you have as an asset, right?
All capitalism is solving problems.
right?
Right.
That's all it is. Entrepreneurship leading to capitalism. It was a hairbrush. you're willing to
Yeah.
pay enough to get the kinks out of your hair. I mean, this phone, everything around us is capitalism.
Right.
It was created to solve a problem.
It
Why
sure
can't we solve this AI pipeline? Is going to be AI in math, AI in athletics, AI in music, AI. I mean,
Across every
everything.
Everything.
It's going to be 100 different categories. Whatever the kid's
Everything.
interested in, go at that.
Everything.
But it just add this new feature to it. And they're going to come up with stuff that no one's ever imagined.
So you have catapulted us into our last question.
And I'm going to
which is-
shut up.
No, this is good.
I said I was going to be good. I said it was going to be good.
And what did I say to you last night when you
I
said
know,
that?
I know.
I said I don't believe that.
Let me be controversial here. Let me be controversial here. Somebody is saying here, I don't know, capitalism evil, whatever. Say whatever you want to say. Look, even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you got to first collect it like a capitalist. And I'm tired of the bad people collecting all the money. I'm tired of it. This is an opportunity. This is full transparency. Nobody has an advantage. And just get out there and hustle. Okay, I'm done.
Well, and it's also that old metaphor of teaching a person to fish, right?
Yes.
Rather than just giving them a fish. So you have catapulted us into our blue sky section, this last call to action, really thinking about kind of what's next, right? And so, Lisa, I'm going to start with you. What do you see as promising developments, and what are some additional things that financial services providers and tech companies can do in terms of the next steps of really grabbing what John has laid out as this opportunity that's right here in front of us, that is quickly moving away from us, that we can harness to try to bridge those wealth gaps, those things that we've spent our careers, our lifetimes working on from so many different vantage points. So we'll start with you, Lisa.
Well, I'm going to actually issue a challenge. I could talk about that particular question ad infinitum, but I'm going to issue a challenge because there is one thing that I'm worried about.
Okay.
I do think that AI holds great potential and we can do great things with it. We have to have the right governance in place. We have to have the right guardrails in place. We have to do the requisite compliance testing. We've got a red team test it. We've got a blue team test it. But I am very, very concerned that we are not educating our children. I do not think we are training our children to be able to take on these new jobs in AI that are going to be coming down the pike that Mike and John have been talking about. So during the pandemic, when children had to be trained at home, they had to go through virtual learning. I don't think that people in this nation realize that millions of our children could not get trained because there was not sufficient technology in their homes. Either they didn't have the internet in their homes, or the internet services that they had were so low, they couldn't handle the systems that required high-speed internet. I live in a digital desert, and I live in Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, Northeast. So my son was in college at the time. He's got the desktop, right? He's logged in on the desktop to the university, and all the screen is doing is buffering and buffering and buffering. Why? Because even though I have the highest internet package available at Verizon, the infrastructure in my community is low grade. So my son literally had to watch his lessons on his cell phone. And he's trying to see the teacher who is writing formulas on a board on his cell phone. There's no way. And so we had millions of children who are now behind in where they need to be educationally. So my challenge to you all is to get engaged and try to actively help to address this problem and make sure that all of our children, particularly the children in wards 8 and 7, those kinds of communities, that those children are trained in the maths and sciences.
How about that? And it reminds me of that powerful panel on workers and AI earlier today as well. Mike, jump in.
I'll jump in. This is also a segue to our next session here about how some new ways to underwrite can be much more inclusive. But I think, and this builds on Lisa's work, that we need a holistic approach of inclusive product design, and it goes all the way from not just the product itself, the pricing. I mean, one of the things with AI is they're no longer set prices. I mean, I've heard presentations where companies have said, we don't have a price, we have 10,000 plus prices, and we're going to size it to what we think you will pay using AI to do that. That has risk. I mean, it's going to be an economic necessity, though. This is, all of us up here are united. This is happening. This is coming. It's not about if, it's how do we make it most productive. But it also goes to the marketing. Lisa's work has shown incredible levels of AI-generated discriminatory marketing. And often, again, just this disconnect between the programmers and the real people skills in the people world. And then also in servicing and default, and again, I'll flag the work of FinReg Lab here, looked at that we have an incredibly antiquated servicing and default recovery system out there. And AI can elevate that for both lenders and for the borrowers better off, but again, need to make sure that's inclusive. There's some other exciting things you've seen, and we can take things from the college area, where, for example, people have looked at, obviously, there's students who come from schools that are less well-resourced, from households where you don't have a private tutor and a college admission assistant to help you. And it's what they've looked for is those students who didn't have those benefits and who outperformed notwithstanding those losses. Maybe not at the same level as the same student would have with all those benefits, but try and take into account that difference as you look for who is selected. And also a topic that Lisa and I have worked on a lot is recognition of the importance of first-generation targeting, because that captures so much of this wealth disparity, and that one of the big things is which families got the benefit of this wealth, intergenerational wealth transfer, and target programs. We've done that at the college area for decades, but also financial services, assistance for home purchase and things like that. First generation is a way that recognizes and counteracts this intergenerational great wealth divide that we've talked about.
Wow, that's a fabulous finish for us, Mike. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Wonderful panel.